you seek.
Ah, the friend zone. We've all been there, am I right? And as far as film friend zones go, I think Aragorn putting Éowyn in the friend zone is one of the biggest friend zones there is in friend zone media. And it's even worse in the book. Well, actually it might be better because Aragorn never really flirts with her like he does in the movies. In the books, he knows Arwen is his girl and he doesn't really ever give up that idea or the thought that she's just kind of moving away. It's totally different in the book. And in the prose in The Return of the King, J.R.R. Tolkien is actually doing something really incredible with archaic language that I want to talk about today for how exactly Aragorn puts Arwen in the friend zone. It's not just in what he says, but it's in how he says it. And I want to talk about that a little bit today. Now, don't get me wrong. I think all of the characters in this book are incredible. And I really feel bad for Éowyn in this moment. She is really trapped. And I'm planning to write another essay about her maybe in a few days, just about how I feel about her and how I really like her and admire her. But I feel like Éowyn is kind of the female version of Boromir. Now, I know on the live read that was a hotly contested topic, but Éowyn is always talking about glory and honor and renown. But unlike Boromir, she's a woman and she can't march into battle as she wishes. So, when all the men go to Helm's Deep, she stays behind to govern Edoras under Theoden's command. Now, the people adore her. They love her. They think she's incredible. And she has this aura that is unmatched in the books for a woman of the Kingdom of Men. But she doesn't want to rule. She doesn't want to govern. She wants to be unbound to fight for those that she loves and to gain renown in that way. And she makes this very plainly known to Aragorn as he comes back from Helm's Deep. And this is the whole moment that this starts. And I just want to give a bit of background before I actually talk about the archaic language that they use at the very, very end of this. Because in the movies, Aragorn splits off from Theoden at Helm's Deep. It's not after that. He's going through the Way of the Dead, but he must stop at Edoras first. And on another side note, he actually takes Gimli and Legolas with him, as well as Arwen's 2 brothers and 30 rangers from the north, which I still haven't gotten over how cool of a fact that is. This is such a cool group of fighters. And so at Helm's Deep, he splits off from Theoden, and they get to Edoras first before Theoden does. Aragorn and company rest there for the night, and then during that time, Éowyn professes her love for Aragorn and then firmly gets put into the friend zone. This is how the book describes the first moment that they see each other. And while Theoden went by slow paths in the hills, the Grey Company passed swiftly over the plain. And on the next day in the afternoon they came to Edoras, and there they halted only briefly, ere they passed up the valley, and so came to Dunharrow as darkness fell. The Lady Éowyn greeted them, and was glad of their coming, for no mightier men had she seen than the Dunedain, and the fair sons of Elrond. But on Aragorn, most of all, her eyes rested. Now, she only has eyes for Aragorn, but Aragorn has never really reciprocated any of his feelings that she feels for him. She is hard crushing right now, and I mean, who wouldn't? Aragorn is probably the most eligible bachelor in Middle-earth right now, except for Gimli, of course, who's my favorite, but he only has eyes for Galadriel. But after this moment, Éowyn thanks them for coming, and she's really happy that they brought news to her, and she thinks that they kind of went out of their way to do it, so she's thinking maybe Aragorn likes me. Again, she thinks they totally went out of the way, but Aragorn is very quick to correct her. Indeed, no man would count such a journey wasted, said Aragorn. And yet, lady, I could not have come hither if it were not the road that I must take, which leads me to Dunharrow. And I want you to notice the way that Aragorn speaks here. There is a little word that is very weird in this sentence. Hither. I don't think I've ever heard this word used in a serious way in my entire life. It's used in a joking way all the time with, friends of mine, but the people of Rohan and Gondor speak in archaic form. It's a beautiful way of speaking, but Aragorn only speaks like this in the book when he is talking to someone from Rohan or Gondor. Otherwise, he's just a very normal guy and kind of speaks very normally, like we speak right now. And this is also important for the way that Aragorn shuts her down in the following pages. Keep in mind the archaic form of language. Now, Éowyn is shocked to learn that they're taking this road, and this is kind of what the book records. But Aragorn, she said at last, is it then your errand to seek death? For that is all that you will find on that road. They do not suffer the living to pass. They may suffer me to pass, said Aragorn. but at the least I will adventure it. No other road will serve." "But this is madness," she said, "for here are men of renown and prowess, whom you should not take into the shadows, but should lead to war, where men are needed. I beg you to remain and ride with my brother, for then all our hearts will be gladdened, and our hope be the brighter." "It is not madness, lady," he answered, "for I go on a path appointed, but those who follow me do so of their free will, and if they wish now to remain and ride with the Rohirrim, they may do so, but I shall take the paths of the dead, alone if needs be." Then they said no more, and they ate in silence. But her eyes were ever upon Aragorn, and the others saw that she was in great torment of mind. So they finish this meal and they get ready for bed, and this is the moment that you kind of start to feel a little bit bad for Éowyn, because she just professes her love for Aragorn, and it goes completely unreciprocated. And then she runs. But as Aragorn came to the booth where he was to lodge with Legolas and Gimli, and his companions had gone in, there came the Lady Éowyn after him, and called to him. He turned and saw her as a glimmer in the night, for she was clad in white, but her eyes were on fire. "Aragorn," she said, "why will you go on this deadly road?" "Because I must," he said. "Only so can I see any hope of doing my part in the war against Sauron. I do not choose paths of peril, Éowyn. Were I to go where my heart dwells, far in the north, I would now be wandering in the fair valley of Rivendell." For a while she was silent, as if pondering what this might mean. Now Aragorn is mentioning without directly mentioning Arwen. That's why he'd rather be in Rivendell. And Éowyn doesn't fully understand what he means by this at the moment, but he is being very firm with her. And so Éowyn changes up her argument completely. Rather than asking Aragorn to not go, she asks if she can go with them. And this is the whole page-long debate that ensues right after this, because Aragorn essentially says she would be forsaking her duty if she were to go. But Éowyn is desperate for renown and glory, and she ends up begging them to go. And this is when she gives that incredible line about her fear. Because at that moment, she does feel like she's caged, like she cannot go anywhere or do anything or do whatever she wishes. So, the book says, "What do you fear, lady?" he asked. "A cage," she said, "to stay behind bars until use and old age accept them, and all chance of doing great deeds is gone beyond recall or desire. And yet you counseled me not to adventure on the road that I had chosen because it is perilous? So may one counsel another," she said. "Yet I do not bid you flee from peril, but to ride to battle where your sword may win renown and victory. I would not see a thing that is high and excellent cast away needlessly." "Nor would I," he said. "Therefore I say to you, lady, stay, for you have no errand to the south. Neither have those others who go with thee. They go only because they would not be parted from thee, because they love thee." Then she turned and vanished into the night. Now this is all so tragic, but it's so well written. But the final nail in the coffin, and the part that I want to talk about with the archaic language, comes in the morning before Aragorn is about to leave. And notice too, when Éowyn was speaking to him before, she was using these and nows, which is familiar language. Here Éowyn comes up to them in the morning with her sword at her side, ready to come with them, despite the fact that Aragorn told her she must stay behind in Edoras. And this is what the book says. "In her hand she bore a cup, and she set it to her lips and drank a little, wishing them good speed. And then she gave the cup to Aragorn, and he drank. And he said, 'Farewell, Lady of Rohan. I drink to the fortunes of your house and of you, and of all your people. Say to your brother beyond the shadows, we may meet again.' Then it seemed to Gimli and Legolas, who were nearby, that she wept. And in one so stern and proud, that seemed the more grievous. But she said, 'Aragorn, wilt thou go?' And this is when it gets interesting, Took us a long time, but this is when it gets interesting, because contrary to popular belief, she is using a familiar and informal language when she is speaking to Aragorn here. Now, if you've ever heard like your grandpa pray, you know this language because they use these and nows. But ironically, when people pray like this today, they are doing it for the complete opposite reasons that archaic language was doing it. They think this brings more reverence and respect to the person because it's a higher form of language, so they pray talking like that. So by using these and nows, they feel like they sound more sophisticated, and that is only the language that you should use to pray, in a sophisticated, complicated language, more beautiful. But it was different when those words were actually popular in the archaic forms, because the these and nows were more of familiarity. In medieval and early modern English, thou could signal more of intimacy or deep familiarity. Actually, sometimes it signaled condescension too. Between Éowyn and Aragorn, it actually suggests a more like raw and unguarded tone, almost as if she's stripping away from courtly formality just to speak from her heart there. It feels a lot more personal and more vulnerable, almost pleading. And does Aragorn answer back with the message with his heart? No. This is what he says. I will, he said. Short, sweet, not archaic, not unguarded or raw, less personal. He is letting Éowyn know in this moment, not just in his speech, but in the very words that he's using. And Tolkien is a genius for this. Éowyn tries one more time, speaking from the heart. Then, wilt thou not let me ride with this company as I have asked? Aragorn responds, I will not, lady, he said. Again, you have this formal versus this informal debate that's going on in their speech. He's letting her know that this has no future, that she needs to stop pursuing him, that she is in the friend zone. And she caves at this. It is tragic to read this. And I don't think it's really all about Aragorn in this moment. I think it's about everything else that's going on in her life, and it's all of her frustrations just kind of coming out at a bad moment. Because this is what the next paragraph says. Then she fell on her knees, saying, I beg thee. And Aragorn, who's noble and honorable, says, Nay, lady, he said. And taking her by the hand, he raised her. Then he kissed her hand, and sprang into the saddle and rode away, and did not look back. And only those who knew him well and were near to him saw the pain that he bore. Now, I think this pain is twofold. One, I think the pain is the pain because he just disappointed someone like Éowyn, which sucks and it hurts. But I also think he's more so pain for the more obvious reason of he's thinking about Arwen, and if he's ever going to be with her again. He's thinking of his true love. But Éowyn stood still as a figure carven in stone, her hands clenched at her sides, and she watched them until they passed into the shadows under the Black Dwimmerberg, the haunted mountain, in which was the door of the dead. When they were lost to view, she turned, stumbling as one that is blind, and went back to her lodging. It is just so painful for her here. I find this whole section such brilliant writing. Éowyn is such a complex character, and I say this all the time, but she's one of my favorites, to be honest. And I love her pursuit of Aragorn and of adventure and renown. But equally, I feel just as bad that she cannot do what she wants in this moment. But this is true in most of the characters' story. They are all bound by duty in some way, and they must carry that duty out whether they want to or not. They are doing it for the good of others. And Éowyn is just simply the youngest person we've met and is still on the path of learning this to a deeper degree. But this really hurts to be put in the friend zone like this. But whatever Aragorn does, he does deliver news to Éowyn very, very straightforward. And I think that's honestly the way to do things. And Tolkien is a big winner here, giving indications for the reader just how serious Aragorn is about this. And it's just flat out brilliant. So if you like this video, make sure you click the thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe too. I am reading this for the first time in my life. I'm only up to this chapter, so you can subscribe for more of my journey as I read this for the first time. And as always, remember to look toward Numenor that was, and beyond to Elvenhome that is, and to that which is beyond Elvenhome, and evermore will be. I'll see you in the next one.